Hi, welcome back to Carrie O'Toole Ministries, and here we are with our coaches. This is Connecting with the Coaches, and we have a guest today. So first of all, let me have our coaches introduce themselves. Just tell us your names. Jen, you want to go first?
Sure. I'm Jen North, and I'm one of the coaches with Carrie O'Toole Ministries.
And I'm Amy Hart.
Awesome. And we've got a guest today with us, Monica Badgley. Monica, tell us about your organization and how it started and what you guys do.
Sure. Well, thanks for having us on here, Carrie. So I'm Monica. I'm with RAD Sibs. We are an organization that supports the siblings of people with RAD, and that includes siblings of all ages, from basically from toddler on up to my age and even older.
Absolutely. And so what kind of support do you offer?
So we offer a lot of kind of just encouragement to the siblings themselves, both on social media and even through snail mail. We actually have a lot of families that really appreciate that, just because it seems to be kind of a lost art these days anyways. We also offer sib shops in coordination with your ministry, which we are very thankful and grateful for. So yeah, we provide resources that can help siblings cope with the ongoing stress and trauma that they see in their homes, as well as those that are recovering from that trauma or have had their siblings leave their homes and are working through the healing process.
Yes, I wanted to share just with you and with everybody else. You have a sib who, well, you've got a couple of them who have written books about their stories that they share with other kids. And I wanted to share with you that I've had a client who is 8 years old, and it's a little girl who has been struggling with a sibling that has RAD. And I recommended that book to her. And the next time I met with her, she was holding the book and she was thumbing through it. Wait, I have to show you this one part. And she read this part to me, and she so related, and it was awesome. And I just thought there are very few resources for these kids, and your organization has really stepped forward and is taking the lead. And that's why we want to partner with you. So what we have been doing over the last year or so, and we've kind of been in the let's figure this out sort of stages, and I feel like we're getting to a better place with it, is we're putting kids in age groups with other kids in that same age group. And mainly we want to make sure developmentally they're about in that age group. We want to make sure these kids do not have RAD, that they have siblings who have RAD, because we know how it can be triggering for these kids.
Very much so.
And yes, so we've divided them up, and based on how many kids we get registered and all of that, it's been a really hard thing, because we're just trying to get the word out, and we're not advertising to kids, we're advertising to their parents, because we want to make sure that the parents are involved in this. In fact, with the younger kids, we require that the parents attend the first session, because we want to coach them through how to help their non-RAD child in their own healing and recovery. So anyway, we've got 2 groups so far that we've lined up for January. And I would love to have our coaches share a little bit about that with you. So Jen, you are going to be leading up the group for 8 to 12-year-olds. And I'll just read off the dates here. We've got it down from January 4th would be the parents only group. And then Wednesdays after that through February 8th. So 6 sessions altogether, 1 for parents, 5 for sibs, at 6 Central Time. And it would be over Zoom, just like this. So it would look kind of like this, but with boxes for each child. And what's so cool is that, Monica, you would send each one of these kids a support pack. What do you call it?
Sib swag.
Kib swag. Yeah, that's
Sib swag.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's all tools and fun things in there that you then use with Jen. So Jen, you want to share a little bit about some of the groups that you've had in the past and what you see the benefit?
I think there's so much benefit to these groups for these kids. I think one of the favorite parts for me in leading the group is just seeing the kids realizing that all of these other kids on the screen from around the country have experienced something similar to what they had lived through or currently are living through. And, you know, when the groups first start, there's sort of this awkwardness of like, you know, they don't know any of the other members. And so it's sort of like getting to know each other. But as the weeks go along, I just feel like there's these little friendships made. And I often have kids ask if they can stay connected after the group is over with. So then I'll contact the parents to see if they're okay with that. But I really feel like it's just giving these kids a place to see that they're not alone in what they've experienced. And it's a safe place to share and to vent and to talk about your frustrations and also to learn some coping skills. You know, if they're still living with a RAD sibling, then coping skills on how to, you know, get through each day. And if they're not living with the RAD sibling, then just like ways to sort of heal from the trauma that they've experienced. And I think it's so important that we've talked to the parents in the beginning, because it sort of lays the groundwork for what we're going to do with their children in the weeks ahead. So
Yeah. And I was thinking, Monica, your daughter actually made friends with somebody like this. Isn't that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, actually, and it's been a couple of years now, and they continue to connect. We actually, they were able to come visit us, and came from several states away, and were able to come see us and spend time with us. And it was wonderful. It was challenging as far as emotionally, just being able to connect on that level for our daughters. But it was challenging from that, remembering and processing, but so healing and just a beautiful thing to watch unfold. And yes, they continue to remain in contact this day.
Yeah, that's so
Oh my
amazing.
goodness, I love that.
Isn't that cool? And so, Amy, you're going to be working with approximately 17 and up, and we don't know how high up that's going to go. I mean, we want to make it so it is a workable group, So we're looking at, maybe upper high school-ish, moving into young adults that are maybe either still at home or possibly off on their own or at college or whatever. And they're kind of give an example of like, what are these people needing?
Oh, most of us just need to be seen, right? These kids are the ones that just sort of got lost, the glass children, as we refer to them. And so just a chance for them to be seen and understood, especially as your nervous system sort of starts to come down, if you're able to get out of the situation, if you're out on your own, or if you're older, can drive and stuff like that. We've had, it's the younger kids, we seem to have that group kind of set. And so that group is the same every time. The older kids, we've bounced around. And so we have, that group is new every time. And so it will depend on, if the group ends up if we get a lot of people, maybe from this situation here going out, maybe we end up with a group that's 17's the high end, or maybe we end up with a group where 17's the low end. So it kind of depends, but still just having those coping skills of things that we didn't know, our moms and dads didn't know. And so just to be able to give them some foundation, which is not just for this tough personal dynamic in the house or former dynamic in the family. These are things that we take through life. These are foundational things that make us resilient. So we can take it into college. We can take it into dating relationships. We can take it into our first job. These are universal, foundational things that most of us moms wish we had known a decade ago.
Yeah.
We certainly would have passed them on sooner, but so it's kind of the same information. And so the younger kids are super blessed to be able to get this younger. The older kids, I've seen a lot of times these kids have been in some kind of therapy, so they may have heard of one or the others, that we introduce from week to week. But it's interesting, the feedback that I get back, where it's like, I hadn't heard it like that, or I hadn't nobody explained it like that, or I hadn't tried it in that scenario. And so, those building blocks were, just because we've heard this before doesn't mean that we really have internalized it and made it part of how we do our life. And so it's really good, even if it's, maybe they were one that attended a couple of years ago. It's good to have that again, and a new experience with new people, and some of those good skills to take forward.
Well, I remember when we first started, Monica, talking about doing this a couple of years ago, coordinating with your ministry and your resources, and then trying to figure out, well, how could we come alongside and actually provide like really good information and support to these kids. And we started realizing that like the younger they are, the better it is, because we could potentially stave off some of the trauma. I mean, wouldn't that be our goal all around, is to
Yes.
help these kids diminish the impact of the trauma from their traumatized sibling. And we can do that to a certain extent by giving some of this information. We feel like as the kids get a little bit older and they've been dealing with it for longer, we can help at least stabilize some of what's been going on. We may not be able to prevent everything, but maybe we can slow it down and help their bodies and their minds and their souls and their spirits heal up, even in the midst of, and give them new vocabulary and ways to even ask for what they need, because they've shut down so much and have just kind of let everything happen around them because they don't think they have a voice. And then as they get older, sometimes it sort of feels to us like we're doing a little bit of recovery kind of work and healing work at that point, but if they do it at any one of these stages, like Amy says, this is lifelong work. Everybody should have this. I mean, wouldn't it be great if we just taught this in schools or wherever, from whatever age? But so parents, we really would love for you to stop for a minute, because so many of you, your focus, and rightly so, you've got this thing on fire over here. So that's what your focus is on, is to try and put out that fire. And we just want to remind you that there's other kids in the house. And we're not saying this to guilt or shame you, because every one of us have lived it. We've all been there. We've all parented in this way. We've all had to recognize that our other kids were hurting and we didn't even realize it. And we've had to go back and do a lot of this work with our kids individually. And man, if we had had this, it would have made it so much easier. So no shame, no guilt, no judgment, no condemnation. We get enough of that everywhere else. We're just here to come alongside and give a safe place for your kids to really start to heal and understand what they've even been through. Because, when we live in it day in, day out, you start to think it's normal. And you need somebody to sometimes remind you that this is not really normal. Because if your kids grew up in this, they're going to go into relationships that are crazy.
And Carrie, just to tag along with that, and what Amy and Jen were saying too, with the cycles of how we relate in our families. I'm a sib myself. I know, Carrie, you've mentioned that you are as well. And what we tend to do is we tend to want to be peacemakers, which is not a bad thing at all. And our parents appreciate that as they're going through the chaos, and we're all going through it. We also don't want to disappoint. We don't want to disappoint our parents or anyone else. And what happens is
perfect.
Right. And really, so we don't feel that way. If we talk about struggling, it's really difficult for us to do that, because we're constantly comparing ourselves to our siblings, and we feel like, that's struggling. That's, they're going through really tough stuff. I'm not. I just need to keep the peace, smile, say I'm fine. And what happens is, if there isn't that healing, if they haven't had an opportunity to learn these skills through sib shops or through something similar, they go through life and they repeat those cycles. For example, we actually have somebody reached out today from Ireland. We had a family last week from Macedonia and all over the place. But we have a lot of young adults and people in their 30s and 40s. A woman in her late 30s reached out yesterday and continuing to deal with these struggles, not to the fault of their own, but just RAD doesn't always heal. Somebody with RAD, they don't always heal. And as long as they are still impacting the family and the parents, the siblings continue to go through their life and begin their own families with that same perception of what family looks like. And it's not always the healthiest. And so just taking that moment for parents of children now to where they can stop and interrupt that cycle. I mean, that's incredible. So it's a wonderful opportunity that you all are providing.
Well, Monica, you just made me think of another thing. So we're going to have to come back and do another one of these and kind of talk about how to recognize what was dysfunctional and how to recognize what is healthy and how do you get from here to there. If you were raised in a home that was dysfunctional through nobody's fault, it's just trauma. If there's a perpetrator here, it's trauma. And it does us all in at some point. And so if we can figure that out and then understand, oh, there's some things that I thought were normal and they're not, and it's not healthy. I need to figure out, well, how do you even know how to move into something healthy? So would you be willing to join us again and come back
Absolutely.
and we'll talk about that, since both, like we said, both you and I are SIBs as well. So that would be a great topic of conversation. But so do anybody else have anything they want to add before I kind of tell everybody how they can get a hold of us? Nope, we're all good. Okay. So January 3rd starts the 17-ish group right now, January 3rd through February 7th, Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Central Time. Amy is the coach. You can find us at carryotool.com under the store, and then you can find groups and it'll say SIB shops. And there you go. So you can find that right through there. It will have you pre-register by contacting radsibs.org, which sounds a little strange, but we really want to keep everybody in these groups safe. And so we're vetting a little bit. We want to make sure you are who you say you are and that there is nobody that has RAD in this group. We want to make sure so that everybody who comes to this group knows it's a safe place. So we'll go through that. And as soon as that happens, then you can finalize your registration and we'll get you your swag bag before the classes start. And then if you're interested in the 8 to 12 group, that is Jen being the coach, and she starts January 4th, parents only. And then from then on, it's 5 weeks until February 8th on Wednesday nights at 6 o'clock Central Time. And you can register for both of these in the same place. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. My email is carrie@carryotool.com. You can go to carryotool.com and click the contact us button, and that'll send an email directly to me. And if you know of any other SIBs that might be interested in this, you've met some other families and they've got kids that you know are struggling too, please send this on, because we don't know where they all are. And we'd love to make sure that any child that is struggling, any young adult that is struggling, would be able to get the help that they need. So we wish you all a Merry Christmas, and we hope that this will help you out starting the new year on a great foot. So thank you so much for joining us, Monica. We appreciate you and your ministry so much.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.